Welcome to the second episode of Star Trek Reliant. We're set in the Star Trek Online universe, exploring a story alternate, but in the same timeline with all of the events that have happened in the game eventually going to happen in this game. The cadet crews and shakedown crews of the top of the line, first of its class USS Reliant is being commanded by the permanent executive officer of the USS Farragut. She is so far perhaps a little bit too casual for some of the crew. Her executive officer is played by Duncan.
Hello.
Oh, do you want to tell us anything about Marcus Graves?
I'm still in Foundry Roundtable mode. So Marcus Graves is a human who's just graduated from Starfleet Academy, who has been promoted to executive officer for basically following a pretty standard command track and a few career.
Okay. Following the executive officer, we have the very interesting only third of her race in Starfleet, Ibby, who has perhaps more training in science, but also does know how to fly a ship. That is our current con officer, Kara.
Hello, I'm Geraldine, and I'll be playing Kara Junrani, Ibby Com Officer. I get to fly the ship!
The ship also has a very another of those interesting first of their kind in Starfleet, another race originally created by a player, the Soar, being played by our technical genius, the one who knows the system and helps us know which dice to roll. Bazag is playing Rick Tier, our chief engineer.
So yes, he is definitely a race I created outside of in one of my first Foundry missions, actually. But he is the first time I able to get to play one as a character. So let's see how this goes, shall we?
Okay, and we have a doctor from a prominent Starfleet family who is trying to, I guess, from what I've seen, in some ways show the universe that they stand on their own outside of being from a prominent family. Our chief medical officer is a Dr. Eli O'Connor.
That's me! Your lives are all in my hands. The beatings will continue until morale improves.
Hey!
Hey, our ship has also taking a cue from the Next Generation, the only show that we've really seen. Well, actually, Deep Space Nine had one too, but our bridge has on it the third chair is full because there is a Betazoid named Waitley, who also serves, interestingly, as the caretaker of the ship's All Faiths Chapel, which exists for the many spiritual, the many members of the crew who come from spiritually minded cultures. So we have a counselor / chaplain, Waitley.
I think that basically, I think that basically sums him up. Chaplain Victor Waitley is the ship's counselor, as well as a member of the Starfleet Chaplain Corps. He, what hasn't been said is he is a bit of an odd duck. He is not a particularly friendly person, though not rude or, what's a non-expletive word to describe how most people would see him. He does come across as a bit creepy, though no one can really put their finger on why. He just has that odd duck, the kid who sits in the back of the class kind of feel to him.
And during the first half of our premiere episode last week, we saw that Chaplain Waitley's empathic powers seem a bit stronger than what we've seen from Betazoids in other places of the Star Trek story. We have a person who came to Starfleet later in life who has specializations in various kinds of sciences and is older than the rest of the cadets around him, but serving on the bridge as the chief science officer. Quentin Reynolds is played by Cass Modian.
Yes, I science. And I guess in many ways I get to be the younger one because my profession is to dig in the dirt and sometimes pull things out of the dirt. But
you get to science good. And I get to play with the animals.
You get to do lots of science. And last but certainly not least, a Bajoran with some Cardassian heritage as well. Member of Starfleet that she might not have seen coming necessarily when being young and on Bajor. Her life was changed in many ways by, as I understand it, an orb experience that you may, if you listen to us, see explored during the game. Our Chief Security Officer, Alenis Kendra.
Hello, everyone. This is Alenis Kendra playing Alenis Kendra. I have a specialty in communications, cultural studies, and diplomacy, and yet I am the tactical officer on the ship, so we talk at things first and then we shoot at them if they don't listen.
All right, so as I said, welcome to the second episode, guys. Last time on Star Trek Reliant, we met all of the cadets that would obviously become our main characters and the protagonists of the story. We even met a couple that were not members of that group of cadets. We met some of the other officers that are going to be on board for what is, for all of you, the cadet cruise, and for the ship itself, the shakedown cruise. After the night that they all got to meet each other, I personally found great joy in the I won't call them antics, but they were antics of Lieutenant Tardigrade, who followed the cadets around with some really stellar hiding checks, moving a plant along the way to keep himself hidden. And the next morning, the cadets who are going to be the senior staff of the Reliant take their shuttle that brings them aboard, and after checking in with the duty officers and spending a bit of time settling into their new digs, as it were. Some went right to work. We saw both Dr. O'Connor and Quentin Reynolds. We saw go right to work, go right to the areas that they work. We saw some of the others. We actually also saw Kara go right to the bridge, and some of the others we saw taking time to settle into their quarters. And after about a half an hour, everyone had kind of found their way to their stations. And though she was set to arrive about an hour and a half before the launch of the ship. The captain of the mission, Commander Jordan Cole, had not arrived. And when the crew looked for her, they found that she was in the Himalayas with the captain's yacht that would be docking on the ship, and sent a team down to help her when she sounded distressed. And that's where we saw when Chaplain Waitley reached out to see if he could sense her emotional state. That's where we saw that his empathy is a little stronger, because he actually felt her pain, and detach a quick security detachment later, and the captain's yacht was docked on the ship, and the captain arriving on the bridge between 5 and 10 minutes later than she was set to arrive, and she was dressed still. And let me not forget that when they landed on board the ship, Dr. O'Connor had to walk along with her, fixing her broken arm with a medical, boop boop device. Once she got onto the bridge, she was still in her climbing clothes, and looked at the rest of the bridge officers and asked if everything was ready and if launch was ready to go. And then she launched the mission an hour and 10 minutes early, saying, let's see what's out there. And that was with the Reliant warping away from the Sol system, was where we left our story last time. And so we pick up this time. Room of the Reliant. The scene comes up on the engine room, with the engines humming, with everything, with cadets at their stations, both on the walkways above and in main engineering. And we come up on Rick Tier overseeing things in the engine room, as this is quite literally the first time that this ship has gone to a sustained warp for any amount of time. You have a diverse engineering crew around you, and the person who welcomed you all onto the ship, Alan Kirkland, he is at a station here in engineering. It looks like he is overseeing flow regulators. Is there anything that you would like to do as Rick Tier now? Things that you want to be looking at and information you want to be getting?
Well, I would just like to just get a sense of how everything is operating, whether it's efficiency, essentially. See if the ship is operating within what it should be.
Okay, looking at those, basically, what you can do is you can call up on the main engineering computer right in front of you all of those systems that have just spun up for the first time, like a short warp jump, just to make sure that the ship could go to warp, wouldn't be activating all of the same systems that operate when the entire vessel is at warp, and it's going to be sustaining that for a degree of time. And what you can see is that everything is operating within safe parameters. However, I'm trying to think of call it technobabble. There is a if anybody can think of one, throw it out there. There is a system that is while it is still within the safe range, it is operating higher than you would like it to be.
All right, I will look up records to see if any recent any of my cadets have recently checked the system, and I will if there hasn't been, I will allocate a group and just go along with them to see how they go in identifying what's going on with the system.
Okay. No one has worked on the system recently, so you put together how many other engineers? And you're going to take how many engineers to go look at that system on the lower deck of where the engine operates? You and two others?
Yeah, I'm just going to say two. Just a small group.
Okay, so you and these other two engineers find your way over to where the we'll call it the system is an induction. It's an induction coils regulator system that, like I said, it's still operating within safe parameters. It just is higher than you would have expected it to be when you look at everything else operating the way that it should. And so you're letting those both of those engineers get to work on it?
Yeah, I would like to sort of like supervise. I would definitely like to supervise and like provide command assistance rather than actually doing it.
Role would be appropriate for that. I have to open up that other web. And engineering and
I would control because it would be precise manipulation of what the system.
Yeah, I like that. Control and engineering. I like it. So your target number is 15. That's a really good one for you.
Okay, that didn't work.
Why isn't our sidekick working?
Let's just do
a... Okay. Okay, since sidekick isn't working, here...
Well, do you just want to
dice roller?
Okay.
I'll trust you guys to tell me what you actually rolled. I mean, we don't, it's a game about telling a story, so you can be like, you can just put in like 2d20 and the same thing. It'll tell you what both of them were and what your total is.
Got 6 and 7.
So that's 2 successes. What you find is certainly not that the work was bad. It still fits well within. It still sits well within within safety. It fits well within what is acceptable. But you and these 2 engineers, what counts as a critical success? Is it just a 1?
Assuming I don't have a focus, then just a 1. But if I do have a focus, it's 4.
Okay. The one of the other engineers came really close to a critical success. So between the 3 of you, again, it's not that the work was bad. It's that the three of you noticed something. You took the time to look over the systems and see something that most people wouldn't necessarily look at. And then you took two other engineers, one of which, someone give me a race. Anyone?
Saurian.
Okay, it's an Andorian. It came up in chat first. One of which is an Andorian, and he seems really proud of himself. It's a he. I just made it a he. He seems really proud of himself that he manages to really be a big help in pointing out a way to make it better. And by the time that the three of you are done, which doesn't take all that long, the Andorian has helped you bring it not just back into what you think is like perfect little safety rating, but also a little bit. Before it was a little bit high, but not dangerous. And now it's working more efficiently than it really needs to by the time that you're done. Oh, how do I disable Discord sounds?
Oh.
How do I do that?
I put that in the parentheses.
User settings, there's a notifications section in the settings.
So what do? I just
scroll down to see all those buttons for sounds on messages, deafen,
yep.
mute, all that. Just all of that off.
I think that's it. I think I did it. Hopefully. Thank you for noticing. I wouldn't have noticed.
I know that would have driven some people nuts because it's just
absolutely. It's definitely the little. I just heard it again.
Yeah, I heard it too.
What do I have to do?
So even when you turn it off, it does play it as you turn it off. So do expect there to be sounds as you turn it off.
I just said set notification settings to nothing. Okay, hopefully that worked. Computer, stop making beeping noises. And so, why are you still making beeping noises? Oh, I didn't hear it the last few times. Someone, where would I have? Really sorry.
See.
Fortunately, we were at the end of the scene.
Let's see. I mean, you basically turn off everything that it has there in notifications, so all of those should be off.
Okay. Well, now everything is gray, which I think is what it means to be off.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, so everything is gray, and it says it will not send me server notifications. So let's hope. If we hear it again, I'll
let you know.
I'll figure it out.
Next time, if I hear it again, I'll just post and then just dig into more settings once we get
it on.
Yep. If I recall correctly, I had to actually go into my Windows sound settings and turn the volume for Discord down.
Ooh, yeah, that would be a pain. All right. Well, fortunately, we were, and I think I was hearing beeping when people put stuff into the general chat channel. I think that's when. Yep, there it is again.
Funny because I don't hear any. I'm sort of on the same settings here, and let's see, text to speech notifications. You set that to never, right?
Yes.
Well, that's off. Voice and video.
So there is notification settings if you right click, but you need to go into your user settings.
Oh,
Make
okay.
Sure those are...
What are my user settings?
So
I'm sorry.
Just right click on your. There's a cog just next to the microphone and the headset down the bottom of the.
Oh, okay. I see.
That's just settings. Do it again.
Yeah. Whenever somebody is, and
Make
that
sure
might even
that-
be in
Yeah, and when
other
you're looking at
Discords.
notifications- Yeah. Oh, if it's in other.
Yeah. What if it's other Discords posting things and I'm hearing them there?
Well, it should just be general. Like, there's no like specific for this Discord. Go into user settings, notifications, and scroll down that entire list. Make sure you're.
Oh
scrolling
my!
down.
Gotcha. Okay, sorry guys, it's making a lot of noise. I don't know how to make that. Oh, I'll mute my mic. That might work, right?
Oh, I mean, we're not going to leave
I'll
this
mute-
bit.
Right. So here we go. Let me mute my mic so you don't all have to suffer through it.
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of sounds that are going to be playing on his end, so that's why.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did that too, but. Also doing the headset thing, so even if I get earphone settings or anything that I hear coming in through the speakers is not going to. I'm like grumpy old Nord right now. Because I'm hearing myself.
I think I did it. I think I managed it. I think my my Luddite self managed to do it. So
I have to turn all mine off because everything's going directly to the recording. So yeah.
Right.
To be edited later.
Later. So we leave engineering with some very happy. Oh, I'm hearing an echo.
It's coming through Grumpy.
What's that?
We're hearing an echo coming through you.
Uh-oh. Give me 1 second, see if I can fix that.
Okay.
How about now?
Yep, still. I mean, yeah. I mean, are you just doing just an open microphone and speakers?
No. I have a headset.
Oh.
It's a headset jack. It's not USB, and apparently it does occasionally. Give me 1 second. I'm going to try something real quick.
Okay. So, in engineering, basically, Richter, what you rolled two. What it was? It like a 6 and a 7? You said. Let me switch back over to game time chat. Yeah, you rolled a 6 and a 7. Oh wait, did our roll 20 start working again?
Yeah.
Did our sidekick?
It looks really it's working, but that's stuff from 10 minutes ago.
Oh my gosh. Well, forget you, sidekick. We'll either roll dice that you really have, or find a dice roller online. You know what I mean? Oh well, we'll hopefully figure out what's up with the sidekick. So,
have you turned it off and on yet?
I don't know. Can I turn it off and on?
Have you tried reversing the polarity of something?
I'm gonna try.
No, I have not. And hey, our new bot temporarily, but I'll spend a bit of time diagnosing what's going on with Sidekick a bit later. Okay, let's worry about it later. Basically, with your very good roll. Yeah, with your very good roll on command engineering, Richter, you're pretty aware pretty quickly that you've got a at least with these two guys, you've got a top-notch engineering crew. And from there, we shift our scene to the bridge, and it's the moments after you have gone to warp, and that kind of initial, our captain is in some kind of trouble. Let's see if we can help. After she settled in and looked over at you, Marcus, and said, "Well, let's see what's out there," and gave the order to set course and engage. And now that the ship has gone to warp, not that she wasn't already relaxed in the way that she sat in her chair, and she looks over and she says, "I think next time I probably should try to get into uniform first." So duty stations, we're all good at the moment, and she's talking directly to Graves. Duty stations, and we're all good at the moment.
Question, or is that a statement?
That's definitely it definitely seems framed as a question. So we're all good at the moment?
Apparently so.
Oh, and let's you and I have a look around our new ship. You know all of your fellow cadets and senior officers better than I do. Who are we leaving in charge of the bridge? And she's kind of looking around with, you would almost have to say that she's got a grin, not really a grin, but there's definitely the hint of a smile there as she's looking at all. She looks around the bridge at the people at the different main consoles while waiting for you to respond to that. So
I look directly at Lieutenant Tardigrade or Cadet Tardigrade. And I say, "Kara, you have the bridge."
Nice.
Hi, XO.
There are two stations on the bridge that are connected to your con station, Kara, that right now just have two guest stars of the week, extras, getting paid for extras getting paid for just being there in a red uniform. And when the command happens for Kara, you have the bridge. One of them taps a few buttons. Their job is to probably monitor various navigational data, that kind of thing, and make sure that you have all of the data you need very quickly. And one of them stands and he stands from their he stands from his position and is walking to take the main con position because you just got given the bridge. And Marcus, you walk out of the bridge, or Captain Commander Cole. I keep wanting to call her Captain Cole. Commander Cole is moving toward the turbo lift, and as she's doing so, she looks at the rest of you and says, "Don't crash into any asteroids," and then waits for Graves to enter the turbo lift.
Lieutenant Tardigrade makes a physical note of that instruction and then salutes Commander Cole.
Kara nods seriously and moves to the captain's chair.
Lieutenant Tardigrade also moves over to the chairs and sits in the XO chair, scrabbling up a moment because he is small and can't quite jump up.
Actually, I see that from my point of view, Lieutenant Tardigrade actually has the second most important tactical position. He's got the second tactical position on the bridge. So that means anytime that security chief Volanis leaves her post, Tardigrade takes the main security post. Would he scramble down to the Exo's chair still?
After Marcus directly looked at him, the answer is yes.
Okay, right on. I like that. So after Marcus steps into the turbo lift and the doors close, what deck do we think that engineering would be on? Everyone, I don't know. Deck 15 sounds good. Deck 15, I love it. Deck 15 is where engineering is, and once the turbo lift doors, swoosh closed, she says, "Deck 15, let's start in engineering." As the turbo lift starts to descend, and she says, "So, I was guessing that you're not Marcus. You'd rather be XO or Commander or something like that." And she leans against the wall of the turbo lift.
Still works for me.
Okay. How about the others? Do you know any of them? Do you know any of them close?
I've familiar with Lieutenant Tardigrade. Took a few classes together. Also shared a dorm together for quite some time. And the others, I had the privilege of meeting them the other night, just before our departure. And unfortunately, though, due to extenuating circumstances, I was not able to socialize myself with the crew. I am familiar with their personnel rosters to the degree that would be expected on such a short notice assignment. And I'm looking forward to getting to know them during whatever social functions you have planned.
And you say actually, when you say on such short notice assignment, she says, before you even finish the full thought, when you say as much as I could on such short notice of the assignment, and she goes, "I read fast, but you're not wrong. And not only that, you should take notice of something else. We have the absolute best cadets from this year's academy in every position. Now that means you too. Don't think that doesn't mean you. For some reason, Starfleet Command has seen fit to put the best engineers in our engineering department, the best doctors in our sick bay. Everyone on this ship is the best and the brightest, or as close to it as they could be. I've never seen. What's that?
Marcus Graves is currently thinking back to moments of his time spent with Lieutenant Tardigrade, with him, for example, playing in the decorative ponds, bringing in rubber duckies with him, chasing birds around, just all the crazy antics. And he's just watching, just straight faced, and just wondering, what? Like, through her speech, he's just thinking about what is he doing on this ship then. He knows he is a qualified officer, but he would not have picked a small 2-foot tardigrade as the best junior security officer for that particular posting. He knows he can trust him, but it's the qualifications. He's wondering what are the statistics and metrics used to judge that, because he is highly suspicious it wasn't just straight test performance.
Right. And she finishes with, everybody on this ship, everybody on this ship is the best and the brightest, or at the very least, we have many of the best and brightest and other crew filling out. There's only 120 of us on this ship. Actually, no, 120 is the full crew roster for a cadet cruise. Last week, we didn't know the number. This week, we know the number thanks to Thomas. She says there's only 80 of us on this ship. And we have...
Quick side note, I did call 84 last week.
You did call 84. Absolutely. She says, let's make it 84. And she says, there are only 84 of us on this ship right now. And of those 84, we have first of their kind on this ship, the first of their kind in Starfleet, 3 locations. So Command has something in mind for this ship, and I don't know what it is. But you're my XO. That means that I trust you, and I trust you to let me know if I can't trust anyone else.
Captain.
Understood, Captain. The turbo lift doors open, and it's a starship hallway, and not directly in front of you, just down a kind of a short hallway is the entrance to main engineering. And she says, "So let's go meet this." Let's go meet our chief engineer. And she is leading you walking with you toward the door of main engineering. And we check back in with the sick bay as Dr. O'Connor is walking down back to the sick bay after going with the captain to the bridge, and kind of in very McCoy fashion. Maybe we'll always, for all of the really important moments, find a reason to have our doctor on the bridge, right? But as you are returning to the sick bay, and you time, just as the XO hasn't had time to look at everyone's file and all. Wow, that's forever ago that you rolled that D100. Dr. O'Connor, you haven't had time to look at everyone's files, and all of the doctors that are working with you yet, but you do remember the people that you studied with in the academy, and the people that did the same practical work that you did. And you certainly are one of the best doctors that your graduating class had. And you're able to see, just based on how they're organizing things, and there's actually already someone in sick bay. You've launched 15 minutes ago tops, and there's already someone in sick bay, and it's an operations officer who really just banged their elbow badly, and is there, and a doctor is fixing the arm. And when you have a chance to look at these faces, you would say that these are maybe not all 5 doctors, maybe only 3 of the doctors and medical personnel that are in here right now are what you would consider the best that you are going to be graduating with. These guys should be sitting, some of them, one of them even is, let's make it strange, interesting. One of them is a Bolian. One of the doctors is a Bolian, and you remember that he was just very, very skilled and probably should be doing the same thing you're doing for his final cadet cruise, but instead he's working in your sick bay. He should be doing his first, you're the chief medical officer cruise, but instead he's working in your sick bay. So we are switching, briefly to the doctor and this realization.
I tilt my head curiously as I look at him, wondering what the hell did he do? Who did he piss off to be not where I am? I shrug it off and just continue to my office, pondering it.
Okay.
Perhaps I will talk with him later about it.
Okay. We revisit the we revisit the bridge briefly again to see that all of the officers. So, Kara, you're sitting in the center chair for the first time ever. You probably weren't expecting this necessarily, but you notice that the other cadets, and there's probably one non-commissioned officer on the bridge, or even two, that you notice that they're all really, really good at their jobs. Everybody on the bridge is kind of, even Tardigrade, who is hiding under a crate right now. Is that correct? He's I would guess that he is very likely attentive to what is going on the bridge at the very least. You can let us know that, Duncan. What would Tardigrade be like in this circumstance?
So he has moved to hiding underneath that crate and is taking very careful note of what's happening on the bridge. Who's moving to who? Are there any suspicious communications coming in?
Okay, Tardigrade can make our second roll of tonight's game. Tardigrade can make, tell me if I'm wrong, Baz, but I think an insight security would be appropriate.
That sounds right to me.
Okay, so his target number is 12, Duncan. Wait for you to roll the dice.
2 fails.
Fails. So he looks to be attentive, but being under the crate makes being as attentive as he wants to be harder than he thought it would be, and so he's despite really trying, he just isn't sure of everyone on the bridge at this moment. And when I say that, by the way, Kara, that you're starting to notice that the people are really good at their jobs here on the bridge. That includes mainly, I'll let main characters speak for themselves, but all of the other backup junior officers, background actors, as it were, they all also look really good at their jobs. There's one person on an engineering console. It is a let me see if I can think of a good race here. There's a Tellarite. There's a Tellarite female on the bridge engineering console right now, who you remember from the academy was just really a great engineer. That is essentially what you all get, as those of you in other departments as well. When you start really looking, because really, you're going to be at warp for days. And so now is when you probably start looking at those records and rosters of the people that are going to be directly under your command. And in every case, you recognize that there is probably one person on the crew that should be doing the same thing you are for their final cadet crews, but instead they're working in your department. Like, there is a scientist in the science department, Quentin, that is probably one of the, we'll call them, what would you call someone who is great at studying stellar phenomenon? What would they be?
Astrophysicist.
Well,
Astrophysicist. There you go.
Stellar cartography.
Astrophysicist.
Astrophysicist is probably better.
Yeah. There's a guy working not a guy necessarily. There's someone who we will define later in the science department who is an absolute wizard at disseminating data about cosmic or stellar phenomenon. An astrophysicist that should totally be serving as a chief science officer before their first assignment. You find the same thing, Kendra, in looking at the security department. There is at least one other person in the security department that from your studies at the academy. This person is absolutely there's someone that is as qualified as you are to be serving as chief tactical officer, but again, they are on this ship simply in the security and tactical department. And as all of you start to notice that, we're going to, that is the moment that your mission commander and XO walk into engineering, and Rictier, this is just as you and those other two engineers are coming back into the main engineering section when the doors open up, and you see Marcus Graves, who we have a picture of him in the character info channel if you go looking, and your captain. So you see Graves, you see both Commander Cole and Graves walk in. Commander Cole is still wearing her Battlestar Galactica style tank top with a heavier coat tied around her waist and climbing gear on a belt still around her waist. And you see them, you see the two of them step into engineering.
Welcome to engineering. Is there any particular reason you came down here? Anything I can help you with?
I just, she looks at Graves and she says, I'm just wanting to get acquainted with all of the systems and people that are going to make this mission work for the next 3 months. Commander Jordan Cole, and she hands out her, she holds out her hand toward you. I don't know if Soar have a different greeting gesture, but she's holding out her hand.
He will reach out his hand. He's it's got little rubber sort of nubs on the ends, because there is a bit of a sharp, not a sharp, but bit clawy, fingernails. That,
that's really neat. I like that.
And so he's got those rubber things on, but he reaches out, shakes her hand, then does a little bow, which is his own version of the greeting.
So is it is it obvious that the little like bow that you do is a greeting for your people? When you do it, is it obviously a part of the handshake and part of the greeting?
Yes, I would say that's while the shake is happening, it's part of the motion of the handshake.
Hey, she doesn't do it perfectly because it's her very first time trying it, but she makes a very good faith attempt to do the same bow that you just did, and then she says, so they let me know that there would be something wrong in engineering. Have you found anything?
Yes. We just got back from resolving something issue. Actually, there was a issue with the induction coil regulators that we were able to resolve.
I'm gonna have to make
Marcus Graves has raised an eyebrow at they.
I like that. I like that. She says, they let me know that there would be something. Yeah, that she did say that exactly that way.
Well, this is a part of a cadet crew, so there would be some form of educational aspect to it, and my cadets and I, we handled it. Some very good cadets here, which is not what I expected, but is very welcome.
What you got?
Mark?
And you say, not what I expected. Her response is to nod her head and say, but what you got, right?
Indeed, definitely. My cadets, which assisted me, contributed quite well to the diagnostic and solution to finding. Contributed quite well.
Are we looking at what they promised? Are we looking at potentially after you and your teams get used to the engines and get used to the ship? Are we looking at a ship that we might even possibly be able to achieve a cruising velocity of warp 7? Everything I've managed to read about the systems on this ship tell me that it might be possible.
Would I have to do a knowledge roll to do that?
Yes, actually. Let me call up your sheet and you can tell me if I am making the right. Let's see. I think it would be a reason engineering.
Okay, so I got a 12 and a 1.
You got a critical success, didn't you?
Yes, so that's 3 successes.
Successes. What does the book say about 3 successes?
Well, it's so every check has a difficulty setting, so it's whatever you set, and everything over that difficulty is put into a momentum pool, so that we can pull from that for other checks later on. Or alternatively, I could get more information about the situation if I wanted to.
Well, this had a difficulty of 2, so that does earn your group a momentum. Momentum plus 1. I'm gonna, here in front of me on my desk, I'm gonna put a dice with how much momentum you guys have. And how much threat do I start with, Baz?
Usually it's 2 times the amount of players, but it's really up to you how you want to manipulate that.
I'm going to call it simply the number of players. So I will start with 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I will start with 7. Okay, so there we go. Answer is yes. You've had at least, you've had time to both look at the specs for, the ship that you were moving on to, and now that you're here, you've managed to get a good look at all of the systems. It would take some doing, and it would take you getting more used to this engine, because this is brand new, top of the line warp core, and it's kind of like the learning curve won't be long because it's Starfleet standard, but once you and your people get a good feel and a good hang of this ship, there is no reason that you couldn't get this to a faster cruising velocity.
So,
that's what your successes tell you.
Rick will just say, we can definitely get up to that. I would like a bit more time familiarizing myself and the rest of the crew with the engine. It is a rather new engine, so I'd like that time. But once that familiarization is done, we can definitely boost up the speed to warp 7 at least.
Got 3 months, and she's watched you. I wouldn't say intently, but when you're talking to her, she has what I don't know how much a reptilian, how much a Soar understands like human expression and emotion, but Marcus does. So you can definitely read her a little bit as Rick is talking. She's got a combination of she's using this moment to gain trust, not for you trusting her. She's using this moment to let herself trust you more. And she's got an honestly interested look with everything that you're saying. And her response to what you say is, well, we've got 3 months. Let's see if we can do one impossible thing. Smiles.
He'll just nod and just go, understood. I will start working on plans for it now.
She says, great, honestly. Turns to Graves and says, let's have just a walk around the ship and get ourselves ready for what we're going to see in a couple of days. We get all of the excitement of going to resupply. We get all of the excitement of going to resupply 6 months of food for a mining colony. So
we may be able to take a detour or two along the way.
Along the way, I think that's why we're taking the scenic route, yes?
Indeed. So, along the scenic route, what do you expect to encounter first?
She looks at Rick Tier and says, gonna have to get to know you. For now, I'm just gonna call you Chief.
Very well.
Gives an expression like, is that acceptable?
Very well. That will definitely suffice. Thank you for coming down, Captain.
Smiles and turns to walk out the door so that your conversation happens between just the two of you, Graves, and the captain. So when you hit the hallway, you start talking with what you were just saying.
So, along the scenic route, what do you expect to encounter first? Animal, vegetable, mineral, or stellar?
Says, considering that our pilot is also a scientist, and I kind of got the impression that Mr. Reynolds was excited about taking the scenic route, I imagine we're going to see some very interesting stellar phenomenon.
So, should we have a look in astrometrics next?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's pass through the crew quarters though. And doing, you take a turbo lift and pass through the area where the crew quarters are, and the captain normally on almost every other ship has quarters set aside for themselves that are slightly removed from the crew quarters, right? In this case, on the main crew deck, completely mixed in with the other crew quarters, she walks over to a door. Looks at the pad, and types in what you can tell a personal code for like you would have had to do the same thing at your door the first time to type in your personal code so that it knows that it knows to recognize your comm badge, that kind of thing. She does that, and the door slides open, and her quarters are small but already lived in. She must have already been on the ship beforehand. Because she walks, the door is still open. I don't know if you stay in the hallway, but she walks over to the uniform, call it like the tailor replicator. It's like a locker, essentially, is what I imagine it being. And she gets her uniform top out of the she basically pulls her uniform out of her closet and starts to change with the door wide open to the hallway.
I sit with my take a position next to the door, back on the wall, looking straight across to the opposite wall, and I consider tapping my comm badge and checking in with Lieutenant Tardigrade, but I opt not to.
Okay. While she changes behind you, she says, "So, tell me what you think of the fact that we have most of the Academy's best and brightest on this ship."
That's a lot of eggs in one basket.
That's what I was thinking. Why would they do that?
Who exactly is they?
And when I'm usually referencing Command. I'm not in the know very much more than you are. I got notice. I got notice from the Commandant of Starfleet Academy that he had asked for a minor problem in engineering that wouldn't derail the ship any, and that the engineers from the shipyards had done that. So I'm usually talking about Command if I'm talking about anybody else. And she steps to the door, pulling the top of her uniform down, and says, "If I'm ever talking about anybody else, you're going to be the first to know, you realize."
Understood,
Astrometrics.
Captain.
She says, "Astrometrics." And
Indeed.
she finishes clipping on the last of her 4 pips, or her 3 pips. And the two of you, the moments now move to what everyone wants to do. Basically, she's very open to hearing whatever your ideas are as you begin to walk with her. And you're going to I see this as the moment that you're touring the ship, and everyone else is you're settling into the fact that you now have 3 days on board. All of the major moments of the launch of the ship have been taken, and anyone can take the as it were, to present us with a scene that is happening here after the launch of the ship.
If you don't mind, I guess I'll just do a short one, which we are kind of talking about in game chat. At very first, it's very uncomfortable for Kara to be in the captain's chair. She had not expected to be here. She was not trained as a command officer. She was expecting someone more like Kendra to be involved. But her military bearing holds up, and while she might be falling apart on the inside, she moves and sits down and looks as captainly as she can. She spends her time communicating with a couple other officers, and then once she starts to realize exactly what kind of people she's surrounded with, being more of a class-skipping scientist than a top-of-the-line con officer, she looks around feeling very, very uncomfortable, and her gaze finally settles for just a moment longer on Kendra.
Kendra looks over and smiles reassuringly, giving a slight nod. Kendra also turns her head towards Lieutenant Tardigrade and instructs him to remove the empty crate from the bridge for safety reasons.
Lieutenant Tardigrade salutes and carefully sews the crate where he found it.
Kara seems to take strength from the other woman's smile and resolve and straightens up, straightening her uniform and going back to her captainly duties.
Okay, things that definitely happen over the next couple of days. The first probably makes Quentin very, very happy. You pass by taking the scenic route. By taking the scenic route, you pass by a fast-moving asteroid. It's not going to hit any. It's not going to hit any populated areas, but you get to pass by this fast-moving asteroid that is generating its own gravity wake and essentially pulling a series of two rings, almost like almost like a ringed planet would, of pieces of it that have broken off, and it's really ends up, for anyone who is on the bridge at that moment on, like, say, the second day, because of the course that was chosen by Kara and Quentin to be the scenic route to get you where you need to go. You get to see that. You get to see think of another cool stellar phenomenon that would be awesome to see on your way. Someone throw one out there.
How about a disintegrating gas giant slowly turning into a nebula?
I love that. You get to pass by the formation of a nebula. This is one that you might that hit me with some hit me with some science-y technobabble. You're passing by, like, the asteroid is cool and it looks cool, and it's very easy to explain everything that it's doing. What you have here is the formation of a nebula. So hit me with some science technobabble and tell us what at this point it's the early in the first duty shift that you're all on the third day, so everyone who is normally on the bridge. And by the way, Rick Tier, there is an engineering station on the bridge. For the last couple of days during the main duty shift, it's been manned by Tellarite Ensign, who, probably has a reputation for being grumpy. That's what we'll say. A reputation for being grumpy. That's what we know about that. Sorry, that's redundant. I see in our game chat. So hit us with that science-y technobabble, Quentin Reynolds.
Well, I've certainly been enjoying examination of the disintegration of a class giant into...
We're losing him.
Breaking up. Me.
I guess we'll just have to turn it on and off again.
So maybe...
Give us 1 second.
I was going to say maybe he can hop into game chat and type in what he's going to science on the science. That's so funny. Why did I say that? What he's going to science on the science?
Science!
Oh, the science!
I know
every single bit of it.
Science, science. There's lots of science here and there. Look out there.
We have a very good scientist. But this moment allows me to continue adding to see, I'm writing them down on a piece of paper as we play, and later I will go to the there it is, the shared list of crew members that as you create, if you guys, so this afternoon, as an example, in game chat, and Kara had a conversation that can happen anytime over these last couple of days, right? Created an NPC that they want to go talk to. That is super. I do love the spur of the moment NPC creation too. Hey, I love that we have 2 Andorians on our ship as well. So, just know that will consistently be updated until we reach 84. And then we'll know everybody who's on board. Till if we reach 84 people on that, which I don't know that we will. Here we go. Everything that cover we in chat use the primary sensors to observe the breakup of the glass giant into a proto-nebula. Okay. Baz, we can actually have a roll for how much information the ship can get out of that, yes?
Yeah, so Quentin would do a roll for using the scanners, and the ship would also do, say, a sensors science assist on that roll, and he would be able to then get the information, then ask additional questions if he wanted to.
Okay. Quentin recommends passing closer and actually using deployable ram scoops to actually be able to. I like it. Fly closer, fly through the edge of what's happening, which, in my mind, there's a moment in the Voyager intro where Voyager flies into a large, and you can see it kind of part of that happens here, and you manage to. Depending on the role, but I like the idea of using the ship as a giant spectrometer. So you have 1 success for the ship. I just rolled that. The ship rolled a 7. So,
another thing I need to tell you: ship always assumes to have a focus. So if there is if it's under or below the ship's discipline for whatever role, then it's always a critical.
You have 2 successes for the. You have 2 successes from the ship. successes that builds you guys 2 more momentum. I was setting 2 successes for being for getting the maximum amount of good information about how this gas giant is breaking up. It's not only that, but the way that yes, Kara, you know what, you can make a piloting check. What is a piloting check, Baz?
So generally either control or daring, but in this case, since it's not under any pressure, I would say control.
Okay, so this is control con. You have a target number of 15. A focus in ship flight and piloting. So what does that do? 1 automatic success?
So that's anything under a 4 is considered a crit.
Oh, right on. So you have 1 success. You were looking for a 15 there from let me double check. Yes, you're looking for a 15 there.
So that 15, so that's 2 successes because 15 it counts as a success.
Successes. So we actually get one of those like beautiful moments in Trek because of the let's take the scenic route. We find a gas giant that is in the process of becoming this beautiful multicolored nebula, and with Kara at the con, the ship as seen from the outside does that where you can see the you can see the nebula breaking, or the outer part of it that you're flying through breaking up in front of you, almost like water, almost like you're moving. It's just one of those, in my mind I just see one of those like beautiful Trek space shots, and you build 2 momentum, and you build 2 momentum from getting so many successes on the science, that the amount of information that would have been helpful for for the Starfleet Science Corps, for whoever this information is going to go to, you've surpassed that. Quentin, you're able to not necessarily manipulate the ship's sensors, but by your idea of using the Bussard collector ram scoop to use it as a spectrometer, and you probably also use the deflector dish in some way there, that the amount of information that you pick up is absolutely, what's the right word? I don't have the right word on the tip of my tongue. Flying through this cloud, you guys, your ship, and Commander Cole seems to for the most part, this is something that you will definitely take note of, Marcus. You will take note of the fact that for the most part, she actually, and in fact, before she starts just letting it happen, she mentions again to you that you know all these people as well as she does. And if you see an order that can be given on the bridge, please do. And she is content to see you all be very good at your jobs as all of this happens. That is, to my mind, that is one of those truly like just awe-inspiring Trek visuals, and it's a really great time to say that we've been playing for 1 hour and 26 minutes. Take 5 minutes, stretch your legs, grab a drink of water, any of those things. When we come back in 5 or 10 minutes, once everybody gives a thumbs up, I'm I'm here and I want to see what happens next, we will be moving directly into the Delta Volanis cluster and the mining colony that is the first stop on your list.
Okay,
So
how's
yeah,
my
take
audio
5,
now?
stretch your legs,
Is there
and
audio?
do whatever you need to do, and then come on back.
The crew of the USS Reliant will be right back after this break.
So you are... it is the third day during your main duty shift. All of you are at what stations you would normally occupy. Rick Tier, the question is, would you schedule yourself during main duty shift to spend some time on the bridge?
Probably. Probably. Sorry, I was just
Hey, you forgot to press.
And I forgot to press the button as well.
I was going to say, he forgot to press the button. So probably. So
yeah.
You're on the bridge. There's no, like, it's kind of one of those, unless there's a big engineering problem, much good to the ship at the bridge engineering station, as you know, unless the ship is in like danger or something. Then you probably want to be in engineering, but there's no reason for you not to be on the bridge. And the system M5975-B2 has come up on your sensors. You are reading. It is 2 planetoids that are in closer orbit. There is a huge, I don't know what the scientific term for it would be. I grew up on Star Wars science, hit it with the thing. But what would be the classification for like a gigantic star? That's what this star is. It's a white star that is absolutely gigantic and super, not what would be the word? Super giant. There we go.
It looks like it's an O-type star.
Okay. Awesome. I like both of those.
It's a
and that is
sequence star that burns helium.
Oh, that's very cool as well, because it wouldn't support very many, and in this case, it doesn't. There are 2 small, and that's why I call them planetoids and not planets, that are on your way in. On your way into the system, you can see that one of these planetoids, neither of which are capable of supporting life. They're both likely just extremely hot. They're closer to the star than the asteroid belt that you are headed to, and the asteroid, one of them is in a slightly decaying orbit. It'll likely be in orbit for decades yet, but the orbit is slightly decaying. And distant from the star, there is what obviously this is an asteroid belt that is quite obviously an entire planet that was at some point in the past broken up, and there is a thick asteroid belt that you all know is very, very rich in deuterium deposits. There have been mining operations out here for, according to mission information, there have been mining operations out here forever, and there is a small Starfleet mining operation rather, it's not a Starfleet operation. It's a Federation mining operation. It's not an independent contractor or anything like that. These are AKA heavy water, AKA needed in ships. Thank you, Baz. Fusion fuel. Yeah, it's technobabble. And there's a mining facility out in that asteroid belt as the as the Reliant comes out of warp into the system, and you are setting course for the first of your scheduled stops during your 3 months out here. As soon as you enter in, wow, thank you, cast. That is awesome. An O-type or a G-type star, probably. That's just awesome. Oot. I love it. Thank you so much for all of that science information in our game chat. That's blowing my mind. That is awesome. So that
if you give me a heads up, I can science it.
So that is the system that you're flying into, and as you fly into the system, Commander Cole looks over at you, Quentin, and says, "When we get close enough, let's scan what we're going into."
Is there a particular type of scan you want, Captain, or just a general survey?
Just a general scan. Just a general scan once we're in good range. Just a good survey of what we're going into. I find that's and she says, I find that's useful, and she smiles. You may make one of those wonderful scan rolls again. So let us see if the ship.
If you want, you could use a momentum to grab an extra dice if you want to.
Ship does not get a success, so you're on your own.
Who's scanning?
You need to roll. No, that would be Quentin.
Okay, thank you.
I figure the science.
Give me a sec. I'm having to grab that link and get it loaded up.
Looking at it, you would need a reason science. So you need 15 or less, and you have.
Ooh, yeah, no.
Ooh.
I got a 15 and a 20.
Oh, so that is one success with a complication.
You can use 2 momentum if you want to re-roll that complication.
You guys do currently have 3 momentum built up.
Oh, but then you've got the RPG thing of do we spend it now on the nothing thing, or do we save it for when the phasers are firing?
I say we're fine for right now.
I mean, we are
Still
scientists first and foremost.
We'll have a success also. It's
That's
not like
true. I shouldn't be expecting combat. This is true. This is true.
You are, if you want to spend 2, you'll still have 1 momentum left as a group, and
well, as a group, do we want to science it or
save it?
I'd rather science it and get to know what we're dealing with up front.
I vote for science.
Science it is.
Science it is.
You roll that 20.
All right. Got a 3.
That's you now have 2 successes and no complication, and
just
you
to
can
double
detect.
Check, do you have a focus that would apply a cast?
It looked at his sheet. I don't think so. No.
Just
I don't think any of your focuses
people check that.
Every time that I ask someone to make a roll, I call up their particular character sheet so that I can look at their focus and stuff like that. So with 2 successes and no complication in your way now, you can detect that it is a fairly sizable. No, that gives it saying it that way is the wrong impression. It is a small to mid-sized mining operation that spreads out over a sizable area. There are a lot of asteroids in the same area of the asteroid belt, and that this kind of distance away, there are a lot of attached mining like there's a platform attached to an asteroid that is obviously in the process of being mined. There are asteroids that have been brought close together and are held together by a docking platform that the miners have put up, and that kind of thing. You can see where the main where the main operation center is. You can see that operation center has 3 docking platforms. There are no ships at those docking platforms, however. You can detect that there is a large workforce of robotic worker bees that are completely robotic, maybe a little bit smaller. They are operating like they're replicating, because they're not, but they're operating in such a way that they are the things that are constructing this operation that keeps moving out further. They're spreading rather than multiplying. And as you, with your 2 successes, if you hadn't re-rolled it, the complication was going to be not getting this last piece of information, which is probably the very vital piece of information. There are supposed to be 9 crew members on board, nine miners, as well as the entire robotic operation. You are detecting no life signs aboard any of the mining stations that are within your scanner range as you draw close.
And these stations are supposed to have at least 1 life form monitoring them, or
9 people total are listed on the crew manifest of this mining station. No life signs. Take us in, Kara.
Aye, ma'am. Moving in, 1/4 impulse.
Hey, the ship picks up speed, and when you say 1/4 impulse, she says a little faster.
Aye, ma'am. 3/4 impulse.
She looks over at Quentin and says, "Don't stop looking, but I'm going to take your word for it." XO, together in away team.
I got.
We need to find out what's happened here.
All right, Cadet Kendra and Chaplain Waitley, Lieutenant Tardigrade, and side note, who is the Zindi from our first episode?
Larissa.
How do you spell
Name
that?
was L-A. I spelled it Larissa, so that you could roll the S long. Larissa.
Okay, I've made notes. And Cadet Larissa and Cadet Tardigrade, meet us in Transporter Room 1.
Yes, sir.
Say that in game. Ask those questions.
Wait, I was.
I'm seeing something in game chat, and I want to like reference to the player that when a break in this conversation's happening on the bridge, and when that ask those questions when the first break in conversation happens. So yeah, Marcus gives the orders for a number of you, 4 of you, 5 of you from the bridge to head to the transporter room. And the scene continues. Sorry, I interrupted it.
Quentin, there are no life signs on the mining station. Is there environmental damage? Do we need environment suits for the away team?
Scanning, and I rolled a 5 and a 2, so
there is no environmental damage, and that does cause you to that question does cause you to kind of just grab another piece of the scan that you just did and do a little bit of a deeper dive. There are no life signs on the mining station. There are also no dead miners on the mining station. You rolled 2 successes on something that I was requiring 1 for. So
I'm not detecting any organic life at all?
Oh.
Or organic material. I guess I should say I'm not detecting any organic material at all.
Oh. Except for microbes, if you go that deep into what the scan produced, except for maybe exactly. Maybe someone I just see this in game chat. It's a great way to think of it. Maybe someone's old sandwich or like an old piece of food would be would have organic or something. But yeah, you're not picking up any sense of the crew of this station, alive or dead, and the atmosphere is fine. Atmosphere is fine.
What? I would also like to check if I'm picking up what sort of electromagnetic signals we're getting at all. Is there any sort of comm traffic in the system?
Yes, the comm traffic in the system is directed from the primary mining station to the robotic units. There's obviously a central communications unit there that oversees them.
Okay. So the network hub for them is working, but is there any other non-directed traffic? I mean,
no, there's no other non-direct comm traffic. The only comm traffic is the network that's running the station right now.
Captain, be advised that I've continued scanning and we've found no sign of the crew whatsoever, alive or dead. The station's environmentals seem to be stable at the moment, but the only comm traffic in the system is the automated mining equipment.
That was a message for the captain.
Oh, where?
What?
Sorry, all right, Baz, you're not the only one who forgot to unclick the mute thing. She looks over to Graves and the people stepping into the turbo lift, and she says, Be careful, Commander, or be careful, Exo.
Aye, Captain.
Knowing that you just heard the same report that she did, and the 5 of you, it is 5. No, the 6 of you, right? 1, 2.
It's Waitley, Alenza,
6 of you. Yeah, it's
Lieutenant
6 of you.
Tardigrade, myself, and Larissa.
Okay.
Tardigrade,
You all.
Yeah.
Yep. To the
Captain.
transporter room, and in the mission locker that is in the transporter room, if you don't have because not every Starfleet officer on board the ship wears a sidearm at all times, essentially. Larissa goes to a locker and gets out a standard issue phaser, and so I don't think that tardigrade does. I don't know what tardigrade does. He probably would just step onto the transporter pad.
Just to say real quick, back on the bridge, Kara looks back at the captain. Ma'am, permission to keep a transporter lock on the away team? Something about this feels very off.
Just a reminder, cadets, phasers on stun.
Okay, and her response on the bridge is she isn't sitting relaxed in her chair. As you've noticed that for the most part, she has a very relaxed, she just sits in her captain's chair, very relaxed. It's just her way. Now that she is commanded an away team off of the bridge, and now that there's a report, things are now not as they should be. She is sitting up. She is sitting up more in a slightly leaning forward pose, with her right elbow sitting on the with her right elbow sitting on the armrest, and her other arm resting on her knee. So when you say that, she says, "Permission granted. Don't ask permission for things like that in the future." And
Hi, ma'am.
Down in the transporter room, Kendra says, "Remember, cadets, phasers on stun." And Larissa checks her setting and nods, and she says, "Yes, sir."
Lieutenant Tardigrade turns his down from maximum.
And all of you, I don't know if does Chaplain Waitley arm himself with a standard issue phaser and tricorder before stepping onto the transporter pad? Oh, I can't hear Nord.
Nord!
I forgot to turn my mic back on. Oops.
I knew it. Hey, this is the night of doing it.
Right? All right.
Yep.
So Waitley does not take anything from the locker. As little known fact about him, he always keeps a discrete Type 1 phaser on him at all times.
Awesome.
Question, Marcus wants something a little bit more powerful than a phaser Type 1. Can he check the locker to see if there is something like a phaser rifle or just something with a little bit more firepower?
There is.
Perfect.
Any you can take, and like it would be, it's basically a standard issue locker, so you can certainly take a phaser rifle with you, that is a standard issue phaser rifle. And basically everyone on the away team has a standard tricorder if they want one from the mission locker, is essentially what it is. And it's located kind of at the back of the transporter room, and you can take a mission tricorder, which is just a basic tricorder, and you can take a weapon of choice that is a standard issue weapon of that kind, unless you have one of your own, or during gameplay try to find something better.
Well, yeah.
That. You can have a rifle.
Okay, so is the phaser rifle just the same as the power setting for the phaser type 1?
You can turn it to stun the same way.
There's type 1, type 2, and type 3 phases in the book. That only really matters when it comes to damage and rolling, and I'll have that up ready when we're in that.
Okay.
Awesome.
That is good. So, yeah, Marcus will take a phaser rifle.
Okay.
Kendra has her dual phaser pistols and a tricorder.
Okay. Waitley, do you take a tricorder?
Yes, he. I was debating saying that he has his own tricorder that he's made modifications to, but I don't think I'm going to do that at the moment.
Okay, so all of you, after getting your equipment from the lockers, see the. I believe it's kind of like I see it as like a silvery blue light falling over your vision, almost like the whole world and everything that you see, just this hand. We're talking about hand beacons in the game chat, shoulder hovery things. That's what you mean. Flashlights.
I was literally about to say, oh, you mean a flashlight.
So as I said, it's this kind of like silvery blue, almost like reality suddenly just starts raining around you, and you see the site of the transporter room on board the Reliant disappear, and as this kind of like again, it's almost like everything in your vision is this silver blue light that falls around you, almost like water falling in front of your face, and then it just stops falling. And as it stops falling, what is in front of you is a small mining station that is not dirty. It's a clean mining station, mainly because there's 9 people is not a lot of people. One of the first things you notice, of course, is that the hallways and the room that you've transported into, which looks like the lower level of the control deck. It looks like there are stairs. If we're talking STO, for anyone who ever played Foundry missions or whoever played the old Cardassian missions, we're looking at like that generic mining sort of station, kind of rust colored walls, but they're not rusty, and you see a couple of 2 sets of stairs that lead up at different areas, as there is an entire second level that covers about half of this is a 2-level room, the lower level that you're on, and then an upper level that covers about half of that. There are banks of computers that seem to be running automated programs, and there are you can see them from where you are, because you can see down through a couple of the hallways, but you can see that there are rooms and halls that connect to the 3 empty docking platforms. You can see that this room that you're in connects to those, but other than that, you're looking at something that feels more cramped than your starship, and that is the room you've teleported into.
Everybody talks.
Let's go one at a time, and I see questions in the chat too, and I'm pretty good about flipping flipping back and forth between I hope I'll end up being pretty good about flipping back and forth between the two areas that the story is taking place at the moment. So for right now, we will get back to the bridge about like what can you do, what can you guys do from your stations on the bridge. But for right now, we are coming up on this room in the mining station. And let's go one at a time, and we'll start with me saying that Larissa doesn't draw her phaser even. She set it and holstered it before you guys transported, and she hasn't drawn it, but she is attentive to the room around you. I don't know what tardigrade would do necessarily, but hey, this is a very cool new area. And let's start with Marcus. What does Marcus do when you guys appear?
So Marcus has constantly watching, which reduces the difficulty required for detecting threats. So he will immediately scope the room for any motion, sensors, force fields, or apparent changes in the displays for the computer programs that are running.
Okay. Roll. Let me bring up. Boom, the character sheet in front of me. Let's call this a. Does Insight Command sound right to the people who know the game better than me?
Insight, I could say command or security. Security would be probably more threat focused. Command would be more about how the protocols and how he would maybe expect standard operating procedures be in this case.
Okay, let's call it an Insight Command. Your target number is 11. Or
all right,
focuses do not apply.
I got a 5 and a 4.
Oh, 2 successes, which is what I was thinking. So no momentum build, but
keeping in mind difficulty is reduced by 1.
Oh,
because
so you guys
talent.
That constantly watching. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yes,
that's absolutely wonderful. In that case, you guys you build back up 3 momentum total. There are definitely force fields in place, but they are. Can tell like there's a difference between force fields that you absolutely couldn't walk through. There are force fields in place in the hallways that lead to what are obviously the docking platforms. You can see that there are force fields in place there, most likely to hold in atmosphere. There is no motion aside from the motion of your group. And based on what you think would be standard operating environment curtains, someone just said in our chat, and I like that. What you would think about the standard procedures, you're gonna have to check the programs in the you'd have to check the actual programs in the computers, but you're pretty certain that that's all run from a bank of computers up on the second level. Like the primary operation of the mining robots and everything is probably up on the second level. Next, when you first appear, what does Chaplain Waitley do?
Sorry, I couldn't remember, but the key to unmute my mic was. All right, so as soon as we beam down and Waitley gets his bearings and you know, that instant brief shock. Well, not shock, but the discombobulation from transporting. The first thing he does before he pulls a tricorder, before he pulls phaser, anything else, before he even like looks around, he immediately closes his eyes, and he's going to use his telepathy to reach out and try to detect like the entire area. He's pressing his limits. He knows what he's capable of, and he knows from having found the commander in the previous episode that he can do some things he didn't realize he could do. So he's going to try that and just try to see if there's any emotions, any mental activity whatsoever.
Is there a role for that, Baz?
Sorry, just trying to unmute myself. There would definitely be command roll. I think in this case it would be insight, as he's just sort of feeling what's out there.
Awesome. Your target number is 15. Let me have a look at your target number is 1, not 2.
Oh, and I do also have the constantly watching, so
that's why your target number. That's
okay,
your target number becomes 1 instead of 2.
Gotcha.
So you only need 1 success to get a full success on this.
And I am very odd with the trying to figure out the system for this. How do I determine how many dice I roll?
Roll 2d20 because you don't have any. You don't have any. What are they called? Focuses that necessarily help you. Your talent of constantly watching lowers your difficulty number by 1, but I don't think any of the focuses help.
You can also spend a momentum to gain 1 dice if you want to do that.
Let's have 3 momentum.
Oh, well, in that case, I think that would perfectly fit what he's trying to do because he is exerting himself. So I think spending momentum would work.
Spend 1 momentum and you roll 3 dice. Your target number is 15.
Oh dear. We got a 7, a 2, and a 19.
It's 2 successes when you only needed 1. So you build back the momentum that you just spent, keeping it at 3. And you are 100% certain that nowhere out in this mining operation is any living being. And you're and when I say you're 100% certain, it's another moment of no, I'm like really completely certain because what I wanted to do, I just did.
Excellent. All right. So once he is, once he has that information, he opens his eyes. He looks at Graves and says, "Sir, we are completely alone here."
Kendra, what do you do?
Kendra instructs Lieutenant Tardigrade to start checking the corridors off to the side.
Lieutenant Tardigrade salutes and begins checking the corridors, proceeding very slowly and cautiously, checking all the corners and sightlines, because he is a very good junior officer.
Okay, and anything else that Elenis or that Kendra does?
Well, I was going to scan, but I think that's been covered.
Well, we took a look around, but we haven't done a physical or an actual tricorder scan yet.
No one has actually done a tricorder scan. A telepathic scan or an empathic scan was done, but
okay. Kendra does a scan with her tricorder while holding her phaser in the other hand, one of her phasers.
Okay, Kendra needs to roll. What are we looking at here, Baz? Insight security?
I could see insight or reason.
So, call it reason. No, call it insight security. Your target number is 15, and you need 2 successes.
I
have an 8 and a 10.
8 and a 10. That's 2 successes. Can you assist? Yes.
I was actually going to say that's probably not a good idea because
Okay.
I wouldn't have helped much.
Okay. 2 successes. You confirm that all of the automated systems are still operational. They are all in essence, this mining operation is still running. The robots are still out there mining, and the robotic drones on the station are still setting up shipments out on the docking platforms. Every piece of the operation is still going on. Didn't have any like explosive critical successes, but you with your tricorder can certainly assess that, and you can also assess that there is a cold mug. It's not, the mug itself isn't cold. What is in the mug is cold, and it looks like somebody left their coffee on the on one of the stations on the second level. Also, the idea that Quentin could have picked up, like, mold growing on a sandwich. You also pick up in what looks to be like it's almost attached to this room is what looks like a little like downtime room with like a not like as big as a dinner table, but like a table to sit around, so that that would be where they might eat, that kind of thing. There is actually a physical refrigeration unit back there. First you pick it up on your tricorder, and then you probably would make sense of it yourself. Things didn't get put away. Whatever happened that these people aren't here, things didn't get put away.
Kendra walks over to a console and checks to see the transporter log and when the transporter was last used.
The transporter was last used $25 days ago, when a shipment that was not already at the docking platform, when the industrial transporter, which is really most of what this station has, is the industrial transporter, was used to move it directly from the asteroid to the cargo ship. It has not been used since.
Kendra walks over to the cup of coffee and scans it to see the age of the coffee.
Okay, we'll come right back to that, and we'll get back to the bridge. Quentin, you want to know from chat, what I saw was, is it possible to connect to the remote network from here? It is possible. A role will be involved. I'm just saying, the first thing you see on your console, yes, it would be possible to do that. Going to call it a reason science roll. So it's a 15 with 2 successes required.
6 and a 15.
2 successes. You absolutely can connect to it, and you know exactly which buttons to push. Are you going to do it?
Yes.
The ship probably should also roll communications engineering.
The ship rolled a 3, so you build 1 more momentum. You guys are at 4. and you connect to the remote network that operates the robotic drones that more or less do. And by these are not humanoid android types. These are the kind of drones that that get summoned in STO when engineers summon some of their little drone thing. These are slightly bigger versions of that. They're like work bees, and you are now connected into that network. Kara, you had mentioned that you want to be keeping I saw in chat you want to be keeping holding an orbit near the station, staying on sensors, and it would be now time to, as you said in chat, sensor it up. In this case, that is a Eason Science. Sound correct, Baz?
Yep, that'll work.
Okay. That is a target number of 15, and you only need one success.
Okay, I got an 18 and a 16, so I have no successes.
Have no successes. Hey, but at least there's no complication. Aside from
what about the ship? Can the ship help?
The ship can indeed help. And gets a 3, so there is one success. You are effectively alone in this station, except for a floating ore hauler that would require at least one pilot. It is floating pretty... call it a medium. If the entire operation stretches what you would call a large area of the asteroid belt, this abandoned, there's no life signs on it, but there is an abandoned, it looks like, ore hauler that does not have any ore on it, that is just floating in space at kind of a medium distance if the entire operation is large.
Kara just notes that and moves on, since it's not giving off any power, it's not full of ore, it's not full of people. It's worth noting, but not worth investigating further.
Okay, we move back over to the station. What does Marcus do?
Before we do that,
Rick?
Can I access just the main computer systems and see if I can access like logs or
yes,
like
because
any information?
Because Quentin has already hacked, essentially. It's not really hacking, but it's, you use your ship's computers to connect to the network over there. Because Quentin has already done that, your ability to do what you do, what you're trying to do, is made far easier, and you can connect to their computer system and look at the logs. The first thing to jump out at you, because you don't have time to obviously read all of the log, but the first thing that jumps out at you is that the timestamp on the last log is 23 days ago. It's the first
Captain,
thing to jump out.
I've got access to their logs. The last log that was entered into their system was 23 days ago. That is rather odd. Can I download the rest of the information into the system and then into our computers?
Absolutely. She responds with, absolutely. That is very odd, but it's also just close enough that they would have been able to check in and we wouldn't have known if something happened.
Alright, so I'll start downloading and then going through that.
Hey, do we have a role associated with that? Do you see a role associated with that?
Reason. I would probably go command.
I was thinking reason. I was thinking reason control or reason con.
Cons generally
Could be wrong.
Ship systems.
Okay, let's call it reason command. That does make sense. So your target number is 15, and I don't see your values or your focus is applying.
Okay, I will spend a momentum to get an extra die.
Okay.
And
you guys are at 3 momentum.
I need to find the die roller again. There we go. And I got a 2, a 14, and a 2.
It's 2 successes. What was the third number, though?
A second 2, so 3.
That's crazy good. You almost got, I mean, in 2 cases, you almost have critical successes there. You pull you have access to pull all of the logs off of the station, the station operational logs, the station communication logs, and the station personal logs. You name it. If it was recorded on their computer system, you're starting to pull it over to your ship. Communication logs show the last communication was 23 days ago. You have to look further in it. You have to look further at that communication to get more information about it, unless you wanted to spend a momentum and find out a piece of information, or what is it, like ask a question or something.
Yeah, I think I will do an in-depth analysis, see if I can collate information and pull all the different logs together into a coherent timeline.
Okay. Specifically, the piece of information, trying to piece things together coherently. There is no log entry anywhere on the station more recent than 23 days ago. The communication, as I said, you would have had to dive in deeper and into that specific communication, but you went ahead and spent your get more information, which means that some of the information about that communication is very easy to see. There is something odd require another roll, or maybe have gotten a critical that might have punched through this, but there is the person or the party that sent that communication was using some sort of call it a high-tech scrambler. You normally you can, even because you spent the momentum to get the more information on the other messages that are dated older than that one, you can see the not the command code, but you can see that they were Federation transports. You can see these communications were Federation, etc., etc. This, however, last communication was a communication into the station by someone who was using some sort of scrambling technology that you don't know who it was.
All right, I will fill the captain in on what I found. So with getting there's a communication here that's scrambled. It's being sent to the ship. I can see if I can find a way to unscramble it, but it's probably going to take a while to to get any real information from it.
Let's start. And back over on the station, what does Marcus do?
So let's see. So we don't have that information from the ship yet. So we're going to be basically proceeding to investigate what's happening. Like basically what's led to this setup. So we've done our basic checks. So we know that there's nothing, no life forms, nothing appears hostile. Everything's running nominally. We need to read one of those logs, though. So we need to find information that may clue us into what's happened.
So you'd be all moving up to the second level to the computer banks that are down here are more I picture like science fiction-y bank of like computer from the 50s, or like a whole server farm or something like that. The actual like stations are up on the second level.
Can I find out what happened with that cup of coffee?
Yes, you may roll because that would be as you get up to the second level. So I'll make the assumption, unless somebody tells me otherwise, because I know that Larissa will follow Graves and Kendra, and I'm guessing that Tardigrade and Waitley do as well. Stepping up to the getting up to the second level, trying to find out how old that cup of coffee is. You may roll tricorder. Does the tricorder give extra dice, or what does it do? Because it's going to be an insight security, I think.
It just sort of allows these checks to happen, really.
Okay, awesome. So it's an insight security, and that means your target number is 15.
And I have a 6 and 15.
And it's 2 successes. That cup of coffee is 3 weeks old. I need 23 days. I mean, if you want to get really technical, it's 23 days old.
Kendra notes that it's odd that there's no mold growing on coffee, given its age.
There is.
Okay.
It's cold, and it's not. There's nothing about it that's odd. There is. There are definitely fungus starting to grow in the coffee. Without a doubt.
It's odd that it's not finished.
Right. It's odd that it's not finished growing.
And now we have a mushroom coffee sitting there.
Yes, we have a mushroom coffee sitting there. Lieutenant Tardigrade approaches the coffee with intention of drinking it.
Thought he was definitely going to go down the hallway, though, because he needs to make a roll. So I'm thinking that Lieutenant Tardigrade needs to make an insight security. So his target number is 12, and he has security protocols as a focus. That gives him 1 more dice.
Lieutenant Tardigrade has 1 success.
1 success is all he needed. That was your I'm sorry, I keep forgetting to say, like, because I go look up your target number, and then it's in my mind I don't say how many successes you need. I just don't say it out loud. He only needed 1. So I'm going to start trying to get better about that. Sorry, guys. He only needed 1. He has some form of a tricorder. Yes.
That is correct. He has a tricorder.
Okay, there is on any of the other hallways, and it looks like this is the only instance of it anywhere on this small mining station. There is a weapon discharge mark on a wall, on one of the walls very near the central room.
Lieutenant Tardigrade notes the weapon mark and tries to investigate what kind of weapon signature it is.
That's what I was wondering. How do we look for more? Oh, more information there. Would that be a good use of momentum, Baz?
Yeah, that would be a good use of momentum to give an idea of actually, whether it was plasma, phaser, what kind of weapon.
Hey, does everybody think that this is a good time to spend it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Lieutenant Tardigrade spends a momentum, and I'll let you, detail how he lets everybody else know that there is a disruptor blast. There it looks like a disruptor was discharged once and hit a wall.
He taps his comm badge and just cries out, "I found a disruptor blast mark."
Okay. Everyone on the away team can react to that. Let's start with the chaplain in this case.
In relation, where exactly am I from where he is at?
30 yards down a set of stairs.
I glance around and rush in that direction.
Larissa moves with the chaplain. You both can verify exactly what Tardigrade found. Kendra and Marcus, what do you do?
Kendra scans the area to see if there's any residual Klingon or Orion DNA in the immediate area of the blast.
No. It's not that there is none of that. Marcus, what do you do?
So I tap my comm badge and try to communicate with the Reliant.
Okay. On the bridge, all of you hear. What do you say? Is it like Graves to Reliant or
Graves to Captain Cole?
Go ahead, XO. What do we have?
We found a station that's apparently entirely in autonomous operation. No response has been made to our presence, but we found a disruptor blast mark here. Station appears to be abandoned 3 weeks ago. Should we proceed with our investigation or return to the ship?
That's what we're finding over here too. It looks like there's been nothing here for 3 weeks. We're too late for whatever happened here. At least we know it was disruptors. Gather your team and come on home.
Acknowledged.
On the bridge, Quentin, with what I saw the two of you state in our game chat, patching your two consoles together if you would like to try to do that. There is a piece of information that bringing the two information gathers that you guys did together. There's a piece of information that the main program for the operation of the robotic units here has been modified. It has been modified to operate for a longer time than standard maintenance would call for. Basically, the program has been modified to let these robots work longer before the maintenance cycle sets in.
Can I determine how the goal was changed?
It was changed right in the main terminals on the place.
But when? Was it 3 weeks ago?
23 days ago. 23 days ago. It was changed 23 days ago. Normally they operate on on a 2-month cycle. They are various of the robots are brought in. That cycle has been extended to a far longer time of operation. Call it like a full month is what they're 2-3 months. It's just an extended time of operation for these units. It doesn't mean they'll be breaking down or anything. It just isn't standard. And the program was definitely modified 3 weeks ago to make that true.
Okay. And is there any sort of protocol that I can determine as far as what is going to happen at the end of that cycling period? Does it make a contact with something? Does it flag something?
It will require in months from now, it's going to require a manual start of the maintenance cycle. But otherwise, this will stay in operation for a long time. Nothing, there basically someone needs to push a button in 3 months. And manual input 3 months from now.
Okay. Captain, analysis is indicating that the subroutines for the mining system has been changed to prolong its activity before manual intervention is required. I do not know at this time when anyone is going to come back to complete that task.
It's good to know. That means somebody wants this still running. Make notes in your logs, everyone, of the information that we got here. And Kara, once the away team is back on board, we've got some stellar phenomenon in another solar system close by. So go ahead and set course once the away team's on board.
Do we have a crew manifest for the station?
Take us out. Yes, there are 9 people. I didn't name them all. Okay. There are 9 Federation citizens who are miners who normally work on the station.
Okay, so we know who they are. So at this point, Marcus is going to proceed with the orders, but Lieutenant Tardigrade is going to try to secure the coffee mold.
Okay, if no one stops him, he can.
Yes. So he takes the coffee mug, lifts it up, and carefully puts his hand over to make sure the mold doesn't spill out, and he proceeds to the BMAT location. He doesn't drink the coffee.
You have acquired a moldy cup of coffee. It has the symbol for the someone who worked at this station must have been a Bozeman Titans fan, because it has the Bozeman Titans logo on it. Tardigrade can now add to his, character sheet that he owns a Bozeman Titans mug with coffee that's turning into mold.
Kendra contacts the ship and asks the person who is operating the transporters to please scan out any any harmful foreign objects before we rematerialize.
Awesome. The coffee comes through more or less intact. I don't see the coffee mug. It comes through mostly intact. There may have been like a few things that might have caused somebody to have a sore throat or something if it was allowed to just like fester. But you can add the coffee mug with a growing mold colony in your character.
So we're back aboard the ship.
Yep.
Lieutenant Tardigrade will immediately scamper to sickbay with his coffee.
Awesome. The cup's description. So you arrive in sickbay with a cup of coffee, Lieutenant Tardigrade, and Dr. O'Connor, Lieutenant Tardigrade, comes scurrying into the sickbay with a cup, with a mug that has some stuff in it.
He presents the mold coffee to Dr. O'Connor and asks him to please help him grow more of it.
Sure, I could do that, little buddy. Just for you.
He claps with joy.
I take the cup of coffee and I'm going to do that.
You're going to medical science it. I love it. I almost want to make it an extended task, but I don't think that we have to. I love the idea that your ship now has the doctor growing coffee mold for Lieutenant Tardigrade. This is really absolutely wonderful. And our scene does cut to the bridge, and it's obvious that we're looking at some time later. Lieutenant Tardigrade is on the bridge at his assigned station. Everyone is there as you are entering system with a yellow star that is game time chat. That means it's way back here, all that good sciencey information. There we go. It is a yellow star that has a large number of it has a large amount of particulate matter around the outside of it, and there are 6 planets, none of which your long range sensors don't your long range sensors don't detect any life on any of these planets. You weren't expecting it. It's not in your mission orders that there would be, but there is between the 4th and 5th planet, there is a nebula. It's a nebula that is small enough to sit in one solar system, and you're supposed to take readings over the next few days. This is the fly around and scan 5 things mission, is essentially what your mission orders are for this particular area of space. It's maybe a proto nebula, you could call it. It has a very orange and red color toward the center. It's got a red color, and so we're going to have like a science check here, and it would be trying to unprocess this scrambling. You may make a roll, and Kara, before you guys leave, you wanted to do something. What is it?
Captain, may I suggest on the way out scanning that freighter? It's currently empty, and it occurs to me that if the station were hit with the idea of stealing the minerals from it, perhaps the freighter suffered the same fate. It could be a derelict, but it could be another clue.
On the way out, you guys absolutely do that, because she says that's a good idea. And as you are exiting that first system, it's not even a freighter, it's a hauler. Basically, it's just like a truck cab that hooks up to a big it's essentially like a worker bee unit that hooks up to a large enclosed transport crate, and it pulls someone would have been piloting it, pulling ore from somewhere out here back toward the main station. There is no one aboard. It is it's not derelict in any way. It is simply abandoned. There's no one on board. All indications are that, if you guys spend the time to really science it, all indications are that there has been no one on board for the last weeks. So we'll now move back to arriving at this small proto nebula. We're going to have some science that happens as you begin to investigate, as you begin to send out probes from your ship. Because Quentin, what are you saying in chat?
Captain, I recommend a polar orbit above the main star and using probes investigate the proto-nebula material. I recommend a class 4 probe.
I like the way that you think. She said, actually, her response is, I like the way that you think. Kara, take us into that, take us up to that suggested orbit and position, and let's start scanning a nebula. And she sits back in the chair. And you begin to scan the nebula. Now, one of the things that they never cover in the shows is they covered it in First Contact very briefly when they were like, oh, how joyous, we've just discovered our 100th whatever, when they're out there doing a really boring job. And the first couple of hours of this job really are, I mean, it's exciting because you're getting really cool information about a proto-nebula that is caught in the minor gravity that exists between two planets on a similar orbital trajectory and speed. So you're getting a lot of really cool information, but it's really just processing information, and it's you have a lot of time on the bridge, right? You know, at the start of this to be bored, probably, for some people. And it is at that moment, after you've been at this for a couple of hours, that Kendra, you see a light that you know what it is. You probably would have hoped not to see it, but you are picking up a distress signal from nearby. It is a video. There's choppy full feed, and you could, if you cut out the video component, you could very easily get a very good audio feed. But there's a distress signal coming in from a neighboring solar system.
I isolate the audio feed and play it back.
Do you say anything before you do that?
I'm playing it back. See, they never really explain if we have earpieces or not.
No, I don't think that you do.
Okay. Captain, I've picked up a distress call. I think I can isolate the audio to get it to be a little bit more clear. Would you like me to play it back?
Absolutely. Helm, get ready.
I isolate the audio feed and play it back on the bridge.
Okay. It is a repeating signal. That's the first thing that everyone knows. And it is a voice that sounds not that a human voice necessarily sounds smooth, but it is a voice that sounds far rougher than a human voice, and it says, "This is Captain Rurik of the SS Talon. We are under a sustained attack from Orion Raiders, and at our last encounter, our primary engine systems were damaged. It's only a matter of time before they catch up to us. Set that on repeat, and let's hope that Starfleet hears us. This is Captain Rurik. of the SS Talon. Actually says this is Captain Rourke of the cargo freighter SS Talon. We are under sustained attack from a group of Orion raiders. At our last encounter, our main engine was damaged. It's only a matter of time before they catch up to us. That on repeat, and let's hope that Starfleet hears us.
Kendra searches the system.
Well, it's you got, because you're getting the distress signal, you know exactly which solar system it's coming from, and you can instantly patch that information over to the flight control terminal.
That's not what I was gonna search for.
What are you going to search for?
I was going to search for background on the ship and captain.
You start to do that as your captain says, Kara, get us there.
Aye, Captain, setting out. Maximum warp.
The Reliant warps away from where you were, and Kendra, you look for the quick information you can get on Captain Rurik of the SS Talon. He is let's come up with a good he is a Vulcan. He is a half Vulcan. He is old by human standards. He is well into his he is 98 years old. And he has been a freighter captain for the last, say, 40 of them. He doesn't involve himself in from the record that you can see, he doesn't involve himself in like the politics of the galaxy around him. He takes jobs. His jobs are cargo transport. Everything you can see on him. As to who he is, he's literally a half Vulcan that has been in cargo transport for 40 years. And that really is because that's information you're getting on your console, and the actual break of the episode is Kara, get us there. And warps away. And that is the cliffhanger that we leave this week with, and we will start next week with your response to the distress signal of the SSS of the. I keep wanting to say it's. I want USS, but it's not. It's just the SS Talon because it's a civilian. Starship. So. There we have it. The second episode is wrapped and done.